All right, I'm gonna split my answer in three separate segments. So one, very obviously outbound. So unfortunately, I'm gonna say unfortunately because we are the most of our requests we get are, hey, we want more meetings, hey, we want more revenue. So I feel like the way our customers are still aware of the problem is like, hey, our problem is, hey, we don't have meetings, we don't have leads. So can you help us with that? We don't really do any mass outbound. What we really do is signal-based marketing. So we kind of help them identify this is your total addressable market. These are potential signals to monitor, and we help them set automated sequences around that. So not really any mass outbound, but more qualitative output there. So that's one thing we do. Second thing we do is more inbound focus. So hey, we get a lot of inbound leads, but we're not really routing them effectively. We don't really know that much about them. Push them to Clay, enrich everything we want to know about these companies, reroute it to the right sales rep. And lastly, CRM cleanup. You want your data to be clean. So that's more the RevOps part. So those three elements is what we particularly do. I think what Clay does really well is make it really easy for someone who does not necessarily have sales experience or marketing experience or data experience to play around. In Clay, to do some enrichments, to combine data sources. It sounds really complex, right? Combining data sources and keeping a reliable level of data. I think that sounds really difficult, but it's actually super easy to begin with. So I think taking that barrier away, that's such a strength with the combination of having a nice clean interface for people to work with. So cons, mainly how technical it can be, and that creates a bit of an uncertainty with some people like, hey, am I doing this right? Is this efficient? Am I doing it well? On the other hand, I feel like a lot of companies would benefit from the HubSpot integration feature, which is on the most expensive plan. So we do have some customers that are on that plan just for that integration, but they use only a fraction of the credits. So there's a bit of a disbalance there. So if that would be more of a almost like a phone subscription, maybe they can say, okay, I want this feature, but I don't want that many credits. Oh, I want not the HubSpot integration, but then I'll get more credits. I think more flexibility there would be a great improvement. Yeah, I would give it like a 9 out of 10, basically, because I'm really an advocate for the platform because it does make your work easier, more fun, and more impactful. Against a fairly reasonable cost. So so well suited either for companies that have very large sales teams that do a lot of manual things, but a lot of manual things. So there's a lot of impact there. Those companies willing to experiment quickly, willing to learn quickly, willing to make mistakes quickly. I think that's also a very healthy organization type to try a tooling such as Play. Yeah, great question. Honestly, not really any alternatives. I would find it really difficult to think of an alternative because, if you have the right pick, basically, the cost of switching for me is just too much to look further. So I'm really happy with what I'm getting for my money. Basically, I haven't really tried any alternatives, and I wouldn't even know any alternatives to be honest. Without Clay, we wouldn't have we would probably have our agency, but not with the level of sophistication we have right now. Really, one of our USPs is that we are certified by Clay. That's how we get a lot of inbound leads as well. But that, of course, leads to a very healthy ROI if we look at inbound. As terms in negative ROI, I think this is a nice one to touch on. Expectation management for tooling such as Clay is extremely difficult because people see a lot of stuff happening on LinkedIn from like the top 1% of Clay experts. And they look at us and, hey, we want the same thing, basically. Oh, that's quite a challenge. So that's really a good conversation to have with your potential client as well. Like, hey, I know what, tell me what you've seen. We're going to see what we can do, if that's reasonable or not. And set realistic expectations there and don't expect to go from 0 to 100 within a very small time window. So that was something we had to learn because we had a lot of unrealistic expectations for what we can do. We can improve your business, but we can't do it with a factor of X. or in a period of 8 weeks. I'd say an 8. Yeah, I'd give it an 8 because it is really user friendly. On the other hand, there's still some improvements to be made in just how technical it can be. It can scare off some new users. There's also feedback I'm getting from clients, or people who play around with it. Yeah, they do find it a bit technical here and there, and then you have this JSON and this and that, so it starts to look a bit like coding sometimes. So maybe that if that gets made easier, for example, yeah, then it'd be a 9 or a 10, of course. Yes. Yeah. Ooh, a difficult question. I feel like I've sold the product to myself basically, so I wouldn't really be sure like how sales promotes it. I think when I started using it was such an outbound focused product, so for me it made sense to try it out. But with the current yeah, positioning, it might be a little different. Yeah, for us, this hard question because we do a lot of implementation for each new client, basically. So often it goes as expected because, yeah, once you've done something a few times, you'll get naturally better at it. But absolutely, the first few workflows that we kind of productized, yeah, that went really not necessarily as planned because yeah, deadlines got dragged. We ran into some difficulties, had some problems. That's not necessarily product related, but it's just more process related. Yeah, of course. Yeah, we use a lot of outbound tooling such as yeah, Lemlist, Smartly, like Growth Machine. Basically, that for outreach purposes, and just your typical CRMs, basically.